In this video, I'll be showing you how to transform these classic plastic tubs into viable animal enclosures. So these boxes are gonna house a number of small animals. I'm sure that over the years they'll change through, but right now it's for a Kenyan sand boa and a juvenile ball python, and then the other two I'm gonna use for my Mexican flame knee tarantulas when they grow out their enclosure. So I got 4 plastic tubs. I'll only do one on video so I don't bore you guys too much. I'm just basically gonna repeat what I'm gonna do on one box with all the others. I have these lids. These lids are temporary. I'm gonna end up building a rack where these guys will kind of constitute one row, and then I'll get bigger tubs for bigger snakes as well. I'll also be making a video on how to make your own snake rack. It's gonna be the first time I do it, but I'm pretty sure I can get it done. It's gonna start raining here in a bit, so excuse the windy conditions. I did a little test, so you should be able to hear me just fine. And yeah, maybe in the future I can invest in a microphone. So what you're gonna need is, of course, plastic boxes with lid, depending on whether it's gonna be a standalone enclosure or if you're gonna put it in a rack or want to build your own rack. Of course, you can just leave these aside. They were included in the price, so I got them. And then I'm gonna use a metal rod that I'm gonna stick into the fire so it's nice and hot. You can also drill. The issue I have with drilling is that you have to be really smooth with it, or else you'll end up cracking the plastic. These things are cheap. They're not made for this, and they're also not extremely stable. Yeah, so sizing wise, of course, I'm not going to keep a rock python or a boa constrictor in these tubs. You should give your animals enough size. You can do your research on that. This is not a care video. It's just how I'm going to transform one of these into a tub. What you'll also need is a ruler and a marker. So I'm going to mark out where I want the holes all around, and I'm also going to do some in the lids. So the concept for these boxes is you want some sort of airflow. If we want to nerd out a bit here, carbon dioxide is heavier than oxygen, so with time, and also if you keep a lot of humidity, that's going to tend to stagnate at the bottom of your enclosure, which is why you want some airflow. Which is also why, if you're going to use an aquarium, you should consider putting in some sort of fan so there's some airflow, just to keep it safe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put at least one row of holes, kind of bottom half, and enough space so that I can put in a thick layer of substrate, and then the other holes are going to be up, so I kind of have airflow, so it comes in on the bottom on one side and then out on the other side. And then the lid. So if I'm going to do the holes on the lower half on this side the higher, I'm only going to put a row of holes in the half of the lid where the top holes are. If that makes sense. I'm going to show you guys the finished product so you understand what I'm talking about if it doesn't really make sense to you. But what we're going for is kind of airflow that goes in and then out the top, right? So it cycles through. So you could also just skip the ruler and marking part, but it's going to be much harder to get a clean look. Even with this, it's going to be quite rough. I'm doing this by hand. I'm not a computer. you're always going to have imperfections, and I think that kind of gives everything more character, the human imperfection. So I'm just going to go around and mark about every 2 centimeters, roughly every inch, if you use that inferior metric system or measurement system, because the metric system is superior. Alright, let's go. I forgot to mention, I'm also going to do a row on the sides, just for extra airflow. These animals are, so it's quite windy. For example, the Mexican flame knees, they come from kind of a savanna area. Where I live, it is savanna type of climate, so we're around 60% humidity all the time. I don't want to keep extra humidity in here. I actually wanted to go out because the kind of room temperature, room humidity is pretty much perfect for them. Same with the ball python, except I could keep them a bit drier. I'm just not going to mist them that often, or barely mist them unless it's breeding/raining season. Which, of course, that's also going to be in other enclosure. This is not adequate for an adult ball python. This is just a grow out. I'm going to take you a bit closer. You can see here, of course it's not perfect, and here I kind of messed up. Boom, gone. On the sides here, so these are the top rows, and you can see I kind of alternated them. So this dot is in the middle of these two. It's just aesthetics, it doesn't really help with airflow. On the sides, both sides, there we go. And then on the other side, kind of did them halfway. For the tarantulas, I'm gonna put them a bit higher up because I want a thick layer of substrate. The issue with tarantulas is they can try and climb up and basically fall off and injure themselves, which I want to mitigate by giving them a thick layer of soil. They're also going to use that for digging. Same with the sand boa. The sand boa is mostly subterrestrial, so it's going to be digging most of the time. For a ball python or any other snake, corn snake or whatever, you know, you can put them a bit lower. It should always be species specific. So now that I'm done with marking out where the birds, living in a tropical area, the beauties of it. So basically what I'm just gonna do now is I'm gonna grab my hot stick, hot metal rod, and just as best I can on the hole melt right through. So you want to do this outdoors because it's going to leave fumes, and you really don't want to inhale this. You really don't want to inhale anything except air. But this is probably This is probably cancer. You can do a few holes like this, and then you'll have to stick it back into the fire and get it hot again. I do believe that this is quicker and less effort than with a drill, and it's very clean, so the edges are really smooth. You don't have to smoothen them out or sand them out afterwards. Yeah, we're done. I'm gonna go around the whole cage or the whole box, and then I'll check back in with you guys. Right, so here we have the finished product. As you can see, handmade. It's not perfect, but it doesn't really matter. I don't really care as long as airflow is good. On the sides as well, you can see there are burn marks, so if you don't really want this, maybe you want to go for a drill. Once again, I don't really mind this. It's not gonna affect airflow or the snake in any way. Some people might just think it looks ugly, but keeping a snake in a plastic box is ugly. It's not. You're not going to do that for aesthetics. It's low budget, and if you have a lot of animals, low maintenance, that's why I would go for a box. There's really not much to it, you know. It's just straightforward. Right. So I've done one box. I need to do 3 more. I'm not going to do that on camera. It's a boring process. As I said, you guys want to watch out for airflow. Yeah, you want a current of air. That's really the only thing you got to watch out for. The rest is straightforward. Don't forget to make your enclosures species specific. Do your research. Where do they come from? Look at pictures. We have Google. What does the area look like? You know, sand boas, people just keep them in sand. They're kind of midway between savanna and desert. They don't really live in the desert. They don't live in the savanna. They live in between. So if you want to do a nice big enclosure, give them plants, give them rocks, give them logs to burrow in and hide under. The Bio Dude does really good. Did a really good video for Kenyan sand boas. He clearly did his research. Yeah, other than that, it's, as I said, very straightforward. I'm not going to make a 20-minute video on how to put holes in a box. The only principle, as I said, is airflow. And then, you know, of course, make the holes in a diameter where the snake can't go through. General rule is 1/3 of the head. You want to keep it at about 1/3 of the head size or lower than that. As you know, these animals, snakes, lizards, spiders, scorpions are escape artists. They're gonna find a way to get out of it. So that's gonna be it for today. Stay tuned for setup videos. I'm gonna do setup videos for the different species that are gonna end up in these boxes and other boxes. I'm also gonna do enclosure videos because I do have big enclosures for bigger animals, and I'm not really a fan of keeping animals in small tubs like this. Some animals just barely move, so yeah, they don't need huge enclosures. But once again, that's species specific. I'm not gonna tell you how to set up this box for across the board every animal, because there is no such thing. You really need to do your research. And what you commonly find in articles or books, well, books are usually more reliable because more research goes into books, but a lot of videos that I see on YouTube are like, it's the basics. It's gonna get your snake to live, not much more. You know, when we go into substrate and actual decor pieces, which are not only decor, snakes need hard pieces for shedding, like wood logs, whatever. That's all really species specific, guys. I'm gonna do a couple of species specific videos. So yeah, stay tuned for that, and I'll see you next time.